Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening. Can you hear me out there? How about the guitar? Is the guitar happening? Hopefully you're hearing everything. Welcome, welcome to Friday Live here on YouTube for Guitar Tricks. What's up, Jersey Red? Great to see you as always. Holding it down in the comment section. I appreciate it, Rusty. What's up, HH? Welcome, Steve in NH. What's up? MA, what's up? Peter, good day. Good to see you. Russ, thank you, sir. Excellent. Yes, we will be doing what we talked about. We'll get to that in a little bit. Mark B, what's up? Jay, happy New Year back at you. Craig, good day. Elias, what's up? Happy New Year. And yes, hopefully you get out and do an open mic guitar night. That'd be awesome. Excellent, excellent. Danny, what's going on? TC in the house. What's up, Laura? How you doing? Nikki the dog, as always. What's up, Matthew from Edmonton? Welcome. Hope you're keeping warm. Reset Mindsets here. Welcome. Jake99, what's going on? James Cody from balmy Syracuse. Thanks for joining. Jim Gregory, thank you. Rich from Beijing. All right. Welcome. Thank you so much, Theodore. Thanks for joining, everybody. Appreciate it. We do this each and every Friday at this time. Okay, we're on the electric guitar tonight. We'll usually just alternate each Friday between the electric and the acoustic. But anything that you learn in these sessions can be applied to either instrument, right? Good to hear, Laura. We're getting a brief pause from the atmospheric river. Pretty crazy times in the West Coast. So I hope everybody's okay. Peter, what's up? Douglas, the neck is on backwards, upside down. Crazy. What's up, Dave in Cleveland? And Fatih, what's up? Welcome. For those of you joining for the first time, we have tabs of the exercises and examples we're going to go through tonight. Expand the description below the video, and you'll see a link to a PDF file with the tabs that we're going to go through. Okay, we do that each and every Friday. Hopefully these exercises, these examples, will spur some experimenting, some inspiration to work on them over the following week. Okay, that's kind of what we're trying to do. Gerald, what's up? Bruce in Indiana, welcome. Laura, what is up? Laura's asking what's up with the headstock. Well, I am partial to the upside down headstocks. I know that's not for some people don't like that. I personally do like the look. So I upgraded the neck that was on this Strat body to a Warmoth, and I love this neck. It's killer. And I love the big Fender CBS 70s oversized headstock upside down. That's just me. I'm kind of weird, right? Sterling Performance from Charleston. What's up? All right. So yes, once again, expand the description below the video. There are a link there to the PDF that we're going to go through tonight. Rhythm styles tonight. So just loosely going through some different styles. We usually kind of try and hit lots of rhythm guitar skills, like strumming, timing, groove, rests, arpeggiations, all that kind of stuff. We're going to do it in different styles tonight. And we also have an exercise by request to take a melody and try and figure out what the chords might be on it. So hopefully impart a few tips on what to do for that. Okay. So here we go. First exercise 1A, you know it. All right, yes. So a little bit of Joan Jett off the top. Cool riff with some rests in the middle and some single note bending a little bit, but uses power chords. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what power chords are, they are neither a major or a minor chord. Okay, you need at least 3 notes in those chords to get the major or minor qualities going and beyond. These are just 2-note chords. Okay, so we've got a root and a fifth. Okay, so if my root is E, right? And I go up a fifth, right? Do you remember how it works? I'm just going to go up on one string to demonstrate the interval difference between our starting note, which would be E. Okay. Oh man, the guitar is not coming through at all. That is crazy. I'll turn it up. Turn it up here, hopefully through the microphone. Very strange. Matthew, yes, if you add the octave, isn't that 3 notes? Yes, it is 3 notes, but really it's only 2 unique notes, okay? Because one of them is the same note an octave up, okay? So that's that. All right, so if I go root, and if I go up a fret at a time, right, I'm gonna go flat 2, 2, flat 3, 3, a 4, flat 5, 5. There's the 5, the B note, okay, which is also 2nd fret, okay? So if you know the Magic Elf from Fundamentals, Lisa Fundamentals, it'll be 2 frets up from your root note on the next strings. Hopefully that comes through the mic a little bit more there. It's really strange, you know, I'm trying to set up my audio interface to be able to stream out. It's really weird to me that you're getting the sound of the microphone, but I don't know, maybe you're not getting the sound of this particular microphone is what's weird. But anyway, it should be coming through the interface, but for some reason it's not. So hopefully, thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. I don't know what's up with that, but I'll just turn it up a little more in the room. So hopefully I'll have to keep investigating. Once I get onto YouTube, maybe it's a whole different ball game with the audio. Okay, so we've got E and then B, which is the 5th. And then we're going to add the upper octave of E, 2nd fret of the D string. Okay? So that's a really common, typical power chord shape is root, 5th, octave, root. Okay, now look at the rests. So we've got, first of all, the strums are 8th notes. So it's 1 and 2 and. Okay, so on the 2nd beat, we've got a rest symbol. And we're cutting off the chord there for the whole 2nd beat and the and of 2. So 1 and 2 and. Okay? Then we've got another set of that. Okay? So 3 and 4. But on the and of 4, we're going to hit the 3rd fret of the low string. Okay? And just bend it up a bluesy bend a little bit. So you put that first bar together, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to go up to the A power chord, same shape, open A string, 2nd fret of the D and G. 2 strums, but then cut it off on the 2nd beat. And then moving up to 2nd fret of the A, 4th fret of the D and G. Okay. There's your fully fretted power chord shape that you can move around the neck. Okay. Root, 5th, octave, root. You can use 2 fingers if you like. I usually just bar down, which means sometimes you might get the major 3rd, right? When I say bend up, do you mean moving towards the floor? Oh yeah, well, I'm bending the pitch of the note up, but I'm actually pulling the low string towards the floor because I'm going to run out of room if I try to bend it up, right? So yeah, the pitch is going up. So I'm bending towards the floor on that low string because that's the only way that you can do it, right? Okay, and that's a B power chord, 2nd position. And then it's the same thing with the 3rd fret underneath. So you put that together, you've got a cool little riff where you're going to have to turn on the metronome and know where to kind of stop the chords and then come back in, okay? So... Okay. All right. So who we got here? Jack, what's going on? It's for you from Montreal. I'm glad you made it. No problem. If you're a little bit late, all good. All right. HH, I was exploring that from last week's material and somehow got confused. Yeah. So it's just, you know, sometimes you say bending up, but if you're on the lower strings, you have to pull it towards the floor to have enough real estate to be able to make the bend, right? Okay, exercise 1B. Really simple riff here, but what's cool about this is that it starts on the and of one, okay? Doesn't actually start on the first beat of the bar. So we're starting with an open E chord. And so because it starts on the and of one, I want to start on an upstroke. 1 and 2 and 3, okay? Third beat, I'm moving to an A major chord, open A string, second fret of the D, G, and B, okay? So, and then we cut it off right there. So 1. Okay, what's cool is that it ends on a downstroke on that third beat. And now you're waiting for the and of one of the next bar where you're going to go to B7. Okay, the open B7 shape, second fret of the A, first fret of the D, second fret of the G, open B string, second fret of the high string. Again on an upstroke. And then on that third beat of the bar, going back to the E. Okay, so if you practice that nice and slow for a little bit, right? 2, 3, 4. Okay, that song's a little bit fast, right? So a little bit faster is going to be. Whoops. Okay, got a little confused on the chord change, but you know what I was going for, right? So there you go. Another cool one where throw on the metronome, go slow, and see if you can do it to a metronome, all right? Or at least your foot tap, and give it enough space in between, all right? Yeah, that's Summertime Blues, a classic, okay? All right, Arthur, I'm at the Black Bear Diner. Oh my goodness. I remember the Black Bear Diner in Burnaby, British Columbia. I'm not sure that's where you are, Arthur, but maybe you are in Vancouver. I don't know. Vancouver area, Greater Vancouver. That would be Burnaby, BC. All right. Rich met Joan Jett a long time in Jersey. That's cool. He's a bit of an icon, right? Robin, yeah, I like that. Should I stay or should I go, right? Same sort of idea. Actually, I never thought of that. It's like basically the same rhythm slowed down quite a bit. Pretty cool. All right, they have them in Tulsa, I'm told. All right, Tulsa at the Black Bear. There we go. Exercise 2A, continuing with sort of the rock stuff off the top. Early rock, really. I thought I'd go with the King here. Really simple, sort of chromatic chords going. Okay, so this is Jailhouse Rock, but you kind of have to keep aware of the counts, right? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what we're doing is playing a triad first of all, starting on a D sharp. So it's going to be the 5th fret of the D, 3rd fret of the G, 4th fret of the B. And this particular, this is a major chord triad with the major third in the root. So that makes the root up top on the B string. So you've got the D sharp note there, right? The D would be on the 3rd fret, but we're 1 fret up. So that's D sharp. And we're just going to move that shape up 1 fret. That gives us an E major chord right there. There's your E note up top, right? Okay. So look at the rests at the first bar, the pickup bar going into this, exercise 2A. You've got the hat, which is a half note rest. So that takes care of 1, 2. And then on the third beat, just an 8th note rest. Okay. That means on the and of 3, we're going to come in with that first strum. And that's why I do it on an upstroke. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And then boom. We're going to move up to the downstroke on the first beat of the next bar, 1 fret up on the E chord, and let that ring out through a whole bar and into the next bar, and then just repeat that. 1, 2, 3. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. All right, and then getting into the second part of this, okay, is the sort of real groove of the song, and it's basically the same riff played in single notes across a 12-bar blues. But we don't have any swing in this song. It's more of it's a straight ahead rock rhythm. So, okay, starting with the open A string, down up there, and then sliding into the 4th fret of the A string for a down up on the 2nd fret of the D, and then a down up on the 4th fret of the D string. Okay, now what I want to do with this, if you see this PM marking on the tab, above the tab here, it means palm mute, okay, partially mute. So I don't want to be too tight on this. I want to have it ring out a little bit, so I'm going to move closer to just being sort of on top of the saddles a little bit. And you can experiment, right? You can kind of lighten up a little bit, but you just want to sort of keep it out under control. Like if you kind of do no palm muting at all, it's a little bit too open sounding for that song. So okay, a little bit of palm muting goes a long way there. If I apply the same riff, one string set down, okay, to the open low E string and the open A string, I'm now playing out of an E chord, right? Okay. Let's see. Jake99 can't hit that triad shape without the chord going out of tune because of a little bit of bending going on. Okay. So this is a typical problem with that. This shape can be a little troublesome, particularly down the neck a little bit. Okay. And if you're not hitting it straight on or quite right, it's very easy to pull it out of tune like that, right? Just trying to get the fingers there. Okay. So what I recommend is taking that shape, maybe come up to the 8th or 10th fret, okay, where the frets are a little bit closer together, and work on making that shape where you're not going to get any bending. Okay. Now be sure to experiment with where your thumb is, because everybody's a little bit different. Experiment with where the thumb is behind the neck, and just try to curl those fingers up as much as you can, coming straight on to the strings. Okay. Because any kind of pressure that you're putting your fingers might cause it to bend out of tune. Okay. So you want to come straight on and just have those pure notes. Okay. And that's how you practice it. Okay. And then just keep moving down, just keep practicing that for a couple minutes a day, right? On and off, making sure you can make that chord, and then just try coming down the neck once your fingers start getting acclimated. Okay. If you find a spot where it starts to go out of tune because it's a little bit tougher down in this part of the neck, that means you got to do more repetition up here in this area, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. Hopefully that helps. A little bit of a tip. All right. So coming out of that, it starts on the 4 chord, which is the A chord, then the E chord, and then we've got the B chord, which is the 5 chord. This is bar 12. Now this is all fretted, right? There's no open strings. So you got to kind of do the same thing, but transplant it up 2 frets. Starting on the 2nd fret, sliding to the 6th fret. That's all on the A string. And then 4 and 6 on the D string. James is asking, where do you start the slide from? Maybe 2 frets down, roughly. It kind of, once you get up to speed, it's going so fast, it doesn't really matter that much, but just as a point of reference, probably 2 frets below is probably good. Okay. Okay, so 1 bar on B, and then 1 bar on A, and then back to E. And then you want to jump back into that other groove for the rest of the tune, right? A little bit of Jailhouse Rock from the King. My jack does look a little bit weird. It's because it's a 90-degree jack. So on the Strat, it looks really weird coming out. I apologize if it looks really strange, but yeah, it's a 90-degree special right there. All right. Making sense. I hope so. No problem. Okay. Let's see. MA, your fingers do not have to touch the fretboard, but the string has to set on the fret to work. If you're pressing too hard, the strings will sound out of tune. Your hands will get tired. Absolutely. So that's the other thing, is that you only want to press it as hard as you need to make a nice clean note. Okay. Anything after that, like really pressing the finger in, can bend it out of tune. Okay. Make it go a little bit out of tune. So you just want enough pressure where you're making that note ring without any buzz. Right? That's too light, but now I have enough. Okay? So practice that in context of, you don't want to have to press down that much. You want to just, as much pressure that will get the note and nothing more if you can. Great tips. Thank you, MA. All right. Exercise 3. All right. So got a little bit of a strumming rhythm here. Just a pretty typical modern pop, rock, even modern country is sort of where I lifted this chord progression from, actually. Straight ahead chord progression here. So we'll try and figure out the key and try to figure out what the Roman numerals are, if somebody can get a line on it. This is exercise 3A. So I'm starting with, this is good bar chord practice, by the way, because I'm starting with a major bar chord, root 6, which means that's, the full bar chord, and barring down on the 2nd fret, adding the 4th fret of the A and D, 3rd fret of the G, gives me an F sharp major chord. Now notice here the strums, okay? Because John, what's up? You made it. Excellent. All downstrokes, except for there's one little 16th upstroke as a pickup going into the last 2 beats of the bar, okay? So the first one's a quarter note, 1. And then the second beat, 2. And then right before we go into the 3rd beat, it's an upstroke into the 3rd beat. 1, 2, 3, okay? Then when we get to the 3rd beat, 3 and 4 and. So now we're doubling up on the downstrokes, not only on the beat, but the ands as well. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Okay, one more time slow. That's what we're going for with this one. Next chord, C sharp major, 4th fret of the A, 6th fret of the D, G, and B. Okay, James, you got it. Nice one. Okay, classic. Same strums on this. Now I'm up to a minor shape, root 5. So I'm barring down at the 6th fret of the A string all the way up, 8th fret of the D and G, 7th fret of the B string. This gives me a D sharp minor chord. Same strums, now going to B. Okay. Back to the full bar chord, root 6 for the B, just 1 fret up, but the root is now back down on the low string. So playing that whole thing. Okay. Cool. So James figured it out here as far as the chords. What progression is this? It's a 1, 5, 6, 4 progression. Okay. So think about the root notes of the chords. Starting with F sharp. Okay. And the next one is C sharp, 2 frets up on the next string. Well, that's magic L, right? Root 5. Okay. And it fits in a major key because we're actually playing a major chord, right? Remember, in a major key, you've got the root, the 4, and the 5 chords are all major, right? The 2, 3, and the 6 chords are minor in a major key, right? So okay, 1, 5. So going up 2 frets from 5 is going to be 6. Well, the 6th chord in a major key is a minor chord. And indeed, we've got a D sharp minor. So there you go, 6 minor chord. And then we're going to B. Okay? Yes, you did mistype, and I actually missed it. So there you go. How good are my glasses? It's all good. I know what you meant. Okay? All right. What note is the B, right? There you go. Laura's got it. Light bulb. I love the light bulb moments. Keep at it. Excellent. Okay? Okay? So, 2nd, 3rd, that's the 4 right there on the 7th fret. And it's a major chord, so it fits. Okay? Major 4. All right? So, 1, 5, 6 minor, 4. Cool, cool. All right. What I like about that strum pattern is it's mostly downstrokes, but you can work on putting in that one upstroke on a 16th note right before the 3rd beat of each bar. I think that's a cool groove. All right. Pretty standard chord progression, by the way. Oladell, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so, the 1, 5, 6, 4 chord progression, it's a classic. Tons of songs, right? So let's continue on with this idea and play, what if I was to, run that chord progression in the background, and wow, look at me. I pre-did a loop here. So hopefully you can hear this. I guess you'll hear it through the speaker, through whatever microphone is live right now, but it's supposed to go straight through the interface. I don't know what's up with that. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But here is me playing this a little bit earlier, and then I'm gonna put something on top of it, exercise 3B. All right, so here's the part. All right. So what do we got here? Really simple sort of arpeggiated part up top where we're playing off the chord shapes. Okay. So I've got the 11th fret of the G and B, and I'm starting on the B string and just alternating between them in 8th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Now, what are those notes from? What I find helps a lot is if you know the chord shapes of the chord progression, up the neck a little bit, it makes it a little easier to come up with these kind of parts. Okay. So we've got an F sharp major, right? Okay. You've also got one up here. If you do the root 5 bar chord, 9th fret of the A and bar down at the 11th fret, D, G, and B. And now what I've done is just taken that chord and picked the B string, G string, alternating them. Turns out that these notes are the major 3rd of the chord and the root, right? I've got F sharp and A sharp, right? Okay. Now we're going to go to C sharp, the 5 chord, okay? Now, in this area of the fretboard where we've got this going, all right, TC's got a good question here. How come the 11-11 is F sharp and the same one is D sharp minor? I don't get it. I'll show you in a second, okay? You're going ahead just a bit, but I'll show it to you. Okay, because we're only playing 2 notes out of this. Okay, so if I take the C sharp major and find a version of that chord that's in the same region of the part I'm playing, you can find it here in the 9th position, root 6 bar chord for C sharp major, barring down at the 9th fret with the 11th fret of the A and D and 10th fret of the G. Now, if I'm still arpeggiating the B and the G string, that's where those next notes come from, right? So now I'm going from 11th fret to the 9th fret of the B, 10th fret of the G string. That comes from the root 6 bar chord for the next chord, C sharp, right? C sharp major. So now I'm getting the 5th and the 3rd of that chord. Okay, so I've made a little move from here. Now, for TC, I'm going back to 11 for the D sharp minor. Okay, which is right here. Whoops, yeah, that's right. Okay, now where's another one in this part of the fretboard? Well, here's D, D minor. If I move up 1 fret, D sharp minor, right? Well, look at the G and B string. Same notes as the major. And that's because, remember, the special relationship between the 1 chord and the 6 chord, or the 6 minor chord, is that's relative major, relative minor, okay? Not every note's the same, but 2 of the notes are the same. It turns out 2 of the notes, these ones, are common to both of those chords. So I can go right back to the 11th fret and play the same thing. Because if you look here, here's the D sharp minor triad. The different note would be here. 13th fret of the D string, right? If I was just playing a triad of F sharp major, that would be the different note. That'd be the 11th fret of the D. And then to make it minor, you go to 13 on the D. Okay? So it turns out you've got 2 notes that are the same for each chord. So if we had a chord progression that went 1 to 6 minor, you wouldn't even have to move. You just stay on those notes. All works. Sounds good, right? So then at the end, I'm just moving 1 more note. I'm just moving up to the 12th fret on the B string. Okay? 11th fret to the 12th fret of the B. Okay? And that's a B note and the 5th in relation to B. So that's going to work great on the B chord, right? Everybody kind of see that? All right, so. So learning sort of your caged chord shapes so that you can envision chord shapes in every position really helps with these kind of ideas on how to, if you're at a jam and we're going to vamp on a chord progression and one of the guitar players is just going to play, right, all the low bar chords, right? What are you going to do to add to it? Well, this is what you can do, these kinds of things, right? You see this a lot in like sort of contemporary Christian worship music, right? They do a lot of this kind of stuff where they try to find some common notes to all the chords, and they're just kind of milking that and just changing just a note or two here and there, but getting like a steady rhythm going. So anyway, that's that one. All right. Hopefully you can all see that. And look, I fired up my looper for the first time. So hopefully there'll be more of that in the coming weeks, right? Because that'll help out a little bit, feel like. All right. Let's start branching into some different genres here. Okay. Oh, Laura got the looper. All right. There you go. Well, here's an exercise to practice. Exercise 3. All right. Practice it with the looper and see what you come up with. Exercise 4 is getting into some R&B ballad kind of thing. First thing, we're in the time signature of 6/8. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. okay? And we're going to arpeggiate. I'm going to play an F chord. I'm just going to play the top 4 notes of what would be a full F bar chord first position. So because I'm not doing the full chord, I'm just starting on the 3rd fret of the D, 2nd fret of the G, barring the 1st fret of the top 2 strings. So that first bar, just going up, classic sound for 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? The ascending chord on the first 3 and then descending on the next 3 beats, right? Classic sound. Now in the second bar, I'm going to add a little bit of an embellishment. Okay, a little tricky if we go slow with that. Okay, so I need my pinky there. I'm going to hit the 1st fret of the high string and do the hammer-on pull-off while everything rings out together. Okay, so we got to practice that. So it's extra complex because you're holding the chord down and you've got to like work on hammering that pinky accurately on the 3rd fret and then also pulling it off. You're kind of plucking, you're pulling off, but you're plucking the string downwards as you get off of it. Okay. Next chord is a G minor. I'm just going to move up. And same thing, ascending and then descending the notes. And then in the second bar, adding a different embellishment, same thing, but on a different string. So I'm doing the same move, 3 to 5 on the G string this time. Then I'm going to move up to a B flat major chord. So I'm going to go back to the original chord shape, which was F down here. I'm going to move that up here so that I've got the 8th fret of the D string, 7th on the G, and barring down at the 6th on the top 2. Just going to play that through. Now I'm coming back down 1 position here to the A minor chord. So very similar to what I did on the F chord on the top string, adding that hammer-on pull-off embellishment this time to the A minor, okay? Then back to G minor. Okay, and just a different embellishment in that last bar when I'm adding the 5th fret of the high string onto the chord and then the 6th fret onto the chord. And that, okay, that sort of highlights the minor sound against the chord, going up sort of G minor notes there, right? So you put the whole thing together, it sounds like this. All right. Let me play it one more time just to get rid of that mistake I made. So here we go. All right. Cool stuff. Exercise 5A. Okay. Upping the ante on the strumming a little bit. 16th note strumming with some rests in between. Okay. We're going to start off with a chord up here, 7th fret of the G, 8th fret of the B, 10th fret of the high string. Now, further to our discussion earlier, is this a triad or not a triad? This chord. Anybody know? Any guesses? There's 3 notes in this chord, but is it considered a triad? Any guesses? No, correct. Why is it? Why is it not? Yeah. Root. Yeah, it's a fifth and an octave fifth and a root, right? There you go. If it's a 1-3-5, it's a triad. Yeah, so you guys are right. Excellent. If this was a triad, I would play it 7-8-7. That makes it a G major chord. But if I play it this way, 7-8-10, that's a G5. Okay, so a G power chord basically. So let's see that first bar. Right? Going to do a down, up, and then cut it off for a whole beat. And then do it again on the third beat, cut it off for the fourth. Okay, a little bit slower. Now I'm going to move up. Now I've got 9, 10, 9 on the G, B, and high E string. Now I've got the major chord right here. It was A major. Okay. Same strums here. Down, up, cutting it off, but then moving to 11th fret of the G, 10th fret of the B, 11th fret of the high string. So interesting little riff right here. So this actually outlines a B7. Okay. And then you're adding the pinky onto the 12th fret of the B string on the very last strum, which makes it a B major triad, right? Other than that, you're just outlining a B7. Now, because you only have 3 notes, you're not actually playing the full B7 chord, because the full B7 chord has 4 notes. But we're outlining it by playing 3 of the notes of it, right? So if I put it together, okay, fun little exercise right there. Like I say, experiment, try different chords, try different variations of the strum if you want, right? At the very least, throw on the metronome and see how tight you can get with it. Exercise 5B, starting with that F major 7 chord. And this is a cool voicing right here. So you've got a bar down. Oh yeah, Robin, definite INXS vibe for sure. I like that. Yeah. What would be? I think something like that, right? Something like that. It's going off the top of my head. I don't know if that's right. Larry, what's up? No problem. Yeah, catch it on the replay. All right. F major 7. So we've got 8th fret of the A string, 7th fret of the D, and then barring down on the 5th fret on the top 3 strings. Really cool voicing right here. Now check out the strums on this one. This is 5B. It's almost the same, except I'm doing an extra upstroke in the gap in between the first and third beat. So I'm going to go. It's going to be that, okay? Right, really tough to get up fast, so just go with it slow at first. Okay, next chord is an F minor 7. So you stay in the same position. You're barring down at the 5th fret from the A string all the way up. And you've got 7th fret of the D, 6th fret of the B, right? And then just move that shape up 2 frets for E minor 7. Okay, so. Right? Fun one. The challenge is to get it up as quick as you can, right? And that's only going to happen if you work on it slow at first and make sure that you're hitting it perfectly, not getting tripped up, and just work with it nice and slow, burning it in, right? Most of this funk stuff, man, you get those 16th notes really going, okay? All right, it is that time. So I needed to pick a melody here to give you guys some tips on this. And so, we closed out last week with this song, and I'm actually going to close out later in this lesson with a jazzy version of this to kind of take it to the extreme. But let's just sort of play this just to get our ears around it, and then we'll talk about this because I purposely did not put the chords over top this melody right here. Okay, so all right, about as vanilla as you can play that melody. That's what we just did there, okay? All right, so let's say we have this melody and we're like, let's figure out what the chords are. Okay, what's sort of the first step in finding this? I'll tell you what the first maybe thing to think about is one thing that holds true a lot, doesn't hold true all the time, but it holds true a lot, is that the first, not necessarily the very first, but the first big note or the last big note of the song is a clue. Okay? This song's a little tricky because the first note is actually a pickup. Okay? The first note is a pickup going into the first beat of the second bar there, right? So if I'm looking at this, right, and key of A is a good guess for everybody, right? But let's think about this. What if if we try to make a guess on it? Okay, what if that's a D note, sort of the first beat of the second bar, okay? And we also end on that note. Okay, so we can make sort of a guess. Let's go with this for a little bit. Okay, so let's assume that we're in the key of D. Okay, now let's look at the notes and see if those notes fit the D major scale. Okay, so if I start here, right, in this position. Okay, so I've got none of the notes in the melody here until here, the second fret of the G and the fourth. Okay. Okay. I've got a second fret of the B string, so that works. I've got the 4 and 2 of the G string. And I've got the third fret of the B string, that works. If I keep going. Okay, everything works in this melody in the key of D. Okay. Now it also worked. It worked. Let's see if it works the key of A. It also works in the key of A too, as well. So that was a good guess. Okay. So we sort of, if you're looking at that, you're like, oh, I recognize that this is an A major scale. Okay. But really the sort of giveaway to think maybe this isn't the key of A is that first note of the second bar and the last note of the song, of the melody of the song. Okay. So let's keep going with this. Okay. So if we have like those notes starting on, sort of beat 1, okay, what you might be able to imagine is that, okay, if you want it, the next thing to start would be to think, okay, I'm going to try and find each chord at the top of each bar. Okay. That's a good way to think of it. Okay. Let's see if there's a chord change at the top of every bar and go from there. Okay. So second bar, I've got the D note. So let's try the D chord, right? Let's just assume that's the root. Okay. Let's see if it works. Okay. That's what's happening in that bar is if I play the chord. Now check this out. Okay. The second fret of the B string is a short note. That's an 8th note. Okay. but then I'm going back to the D note and then to the F sharp note. And those are quarter notes. So those are held out a little bit longer, right? And especially that first one. Okay, so that second fret of the B string is sort of the shortest note. So what you're looking for is, do all these notes fit the chord? Are they in the chord, right? Well, what's in the chord? The D note's obviously in the chord. It's the root. Second fret, the F sharp, that's in the chord because it's the major third, right? Now, the second fret of the B string is not in the chord. However, it's only hanging around for an eighth note. So you can sort of guess that maybe that's just a passing tone, okay? So. Okay, now the next bar, right? Now we've got an E note. Okay, so what's that going to be? Well, here's the next tip, okay? If you figured out the key or you have a guess on the key, try 1, 4, 5 on everything, okay? All right, so in that second bar, we've moved 2 frets away from the root. So if we've moved 2 frets away from the root and we're on an E note, okay, that's not in the D chord, the chord is probably changed. So we're in the key of D. What are the 4 and 5 chord? Okay. Well, the 4 chord is G. So let's maybe assume that we go to a G chord. But there's only one problem, is that E is not in the G chord. But the E is in the A chord. So maybe we go with that. Okay, so how does that sound? Okay. That sounds nice. If we did it over G, kind of doesn't really sound right. It's a little bit different. It sounds way more in the... Okay. Third bar, back to the D note. Well, maybe we go back to the D chord. And look at in that, I should say the fourth bar here, when we go back to the D note, I'm playing a full on D major arpeggio there. Okay. Now I'm on a B note. Okay. So let's think about our 4 and 5 chord. There's the A chord. Well, the B note isn't in the A chord, but the B is the major third of the G chord, which is the 4 chord. So if I go, it's going to work, right? So let's think about that. 1, 5, 1, 4. Okay, first line of this. Sounds pretty good, right? And Robin, you're absolutely correct. If we reverse these and played, if we did a 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 5 on this, it might sound cool in a totally different way, right? But we all know this is like sort of a melody that has been around a long time, so it sounds more right. I think you can hear when you get the right chord, it sounds right. You know what I mean? However, right, these tips that I'm giving you, if you're the one coming up with the melody, then use these tips and just see what you like the sound of. Okay, because you can pick those kind of chords where the notes are more extended off of the chord and come up with some really cool sounds, right? It can still be very musical to kind of pick different chords that might work with the different melody notes. Okay. I chose this one just because, we're going to try and stick with 1, 4, 5, right? And, it worked. This song works for 1, 4, 5. And you also know that this melody well enough that when it sounds like that's the right chord. Okay. All right. So we're back to now you're kind of going in reverse, right? That the next line, you're going 5 on the high string to 2 to 3. Again, spelling out 5, 3, and 1 of the D chords. So it probably goes back there, right? The next bar is exactly the same melody as the previous one, right? So we can go to the 5 chord, which is A, right? Okay, that last chord, right? Couple of ideas here, okay? And I'm going to run out of time for the last couple exercises. I'll save them for next time. But couple things can happen here. Now, my first tip was just to stick with 1, 4, 5. Okay, so if we do that, okay? Well, I've got the D note for the first part of that bar. Okay? So if I stay on D for the rest of the song, doesn't sound bad, right? That works. Okay? But what if I made a chord change halfway through that bar? And that note is B, right? And we already kind of knew we moved to a G chord with that B note. So what if I moved to G on those last 2 notes and then ended on the last bar back on the D chord for that D note that ends the song? Sorry. Okay. Sounds a little bit cooler, still works, right? Like, I can play it. Okay. Maybe I can play it like that a little bit easier. Okay. Another thing that's cool is you can experiment with the relative minors, right? So in my arrangement last week, in this second to last bar of the melody, I went to the relative minor. So what's the relative minor of D? Well, it's B minor. So I can go B minor, still going to G halfway through that last bar, and down to D. Okay. So I hope this illustrates that there's not really a wrong answer to some of this. Okay. It's just a sound, right? Like I could stay on D for the whole last 2 bars. Okay. I go to the relative minor, right? And change to the G chord halfway through. Okay. So this is just an introduction to these kind of things, and hopefully on a very simple level, like giving you some things to think about to start working through this. I remember answering this when this came up. I don't know if it was last lesson or the lesson before, but a lot of times this comes from experience too. Like if you played for a while, you've learned lots of songs, you start to get an instinct for where the chords are changing and what notes sound good on what chords, and you can kind of fast track a lot of this. But I think I've given you enough maybe to kind of just mess around with this a little bit. Try and find the key. Try and find where the major beats are in the melody, where you'd be changing chords, right? And then see what feels like the home note out of everything, right? And that's usually going to point you to what key it is, right? And then go from there. Find your 1, 4, 5s, and then you can start messing around with the minors too afterwards. And you'll find a lot of really cool results happening with that, right? All right, there's a couple extra exercises here. I'll just play them here real quick if you want to mess around with this. Minor blues, exercise 7. This is a straight feel, straight blues, so there's no shuffle. So That's the idea with that one. A little bit of sort of that Thrill Is Gone kind of feel with a little bit more of a single note riff in there. Okay. So mess around with that. That'll give you an idea on it. And then I ended off with Auld Lang Syne, the jazzy version. So if you're into it, let's see, I'll just kind of play through it. Whoops. Okay, one more time. Oh, the pressure, the red light fever. One more time. All right, so if you want to take it to the extreme and like do a ton of extended jazzy chords, that's what you might come up with for Auld Lang Syne, hitting that melody. Of course, I'm not going to, I didn't come up with that myself, so I'm not going to go through the whole theory of it. All right, so mess around with those last two. Maybe we'll revisit another time, but Theodore, thank you. HH, thank you as always. Jack, thank you. Robin suggested maybe the bass moves up in the chorus. Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is just a starting point for everything, right? Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Jersey, learning some music theory. A little goes a long way, right? No time like the present. Go for it. All right. All right, Laura, looking forward to it myself. Thanks for joining. Excellent. Yes, Laura is doing some one-on-one lessons here. So that's awesome. Cool. Theodore, thank you. Who else we got here? I'm behind here. Peter, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Back at you. Zane, thank you. James, thanks so much. Steve and NH, thank you. Glenn B, thanks. Danny, thanks for joining. Craig, Jody 1, appreciate it. MA, thank you. Rich, thanks. Larry, thank you. John, as always, thank you, my friend. Peter, I like that I'm still turning the volume down on my guitar. Yeah, I don't know why. There you go. Peter, thank you. Nikki the dog, as always, thanks. Jack, thank you. Have a great weekend. Back at you. Jim Gregory, thank you. Jake 99, thanks so much. Mauricio, thank you. All right. Cheers, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week back on the acoustic. Cheers, everybody. Take care. See ya.